Making hard shapes that.
All right, everybody. Get things going here. Raise your hand if you can hear me. All right, saw a couple hands. Good deal. All right, one more thing. I'm trying something new today. Raise your hand if you can see that on my screen. Can you see my screen? Cool. All right, so I'm gonna hang tight on that for a second here. We're gonna go ahead and get started. Want to do a little brief introduction before we really get going into the full presentation here. What we are going to be talking about today is macronutrients. We're going to be breaking down all the information you need to know about macronutrients. I am recording this and I'm going to put it on YouTube and make it available upon request. So if you need to recap on this stuff, you want that information back, just shoot me a text and I'll send you that YouTube link later on. All right. What's up, Emily? Welcome in. Again, I would just prefer if everybody could stay on mute unless you have a question. Just kind of bump in and say, hey, Greg, whenever you get a chance, I got a question. And then next time I get to the next stopping point, I will. And we can unmute you then again and go ahead and have in at it. But probably try to limit that because I have a lot of information to get through here today, guys. A lot of great stuff. So I'm going to go ahead and jump in, share my screen. Let's go from the beginning. All right, macronutrients. Hang tight one second, you guys. All right. Let me close this out. Macronutrients. All right. Macronutrients are where calories come from. Macronutrients are also your fats, carbs, and proteins. All right. You buy anything like this beef jerky Mark's got here. It's got a nutrition contents on the back. Your fats, carbs, and proteins are going to be in bold every time. All right. See, it says total fat in bold, carbohydrates and proteins because they're very important. Got to know those. All right. Whenever we write them on meal plans, you'll see like everybody's challenge meal plan, there was those 3 numbers with slashes in between. This is what that is. All right. They in this order every time because that is the order that we read them from top to bottom on the nutrition label. They will always be fat, carb, and protein. At least when you get them from me, I do things right. All right. So a lot about what we talk about today is going to be based on eating a balanced diet. All right, so when you're eating a balanced diet, that means that you have an equal amount of calories coming from each of these nutrients. All right, they do not all have the same value. So we gotta be careful, but we are going to get into those details soon. Hey, Taylor, welcome in. Please stay on mute for me and let me know if you have a question. We'll get to a stopping point. All right, moving forward. Fats, all right. Check out the picture right here. This should tell you a few things already. But you know, 1 gram of fat is 9 calories. This is your most dense macronutrient. All right, that means a little bit of it is going to give you a lot of calories. All right, if you had 10 grams of fat, that is 90 calories. Hey, Tanisha, if you could mute yourself, gotcha. And then we're gonna let me know if you have any questions. All right, a couple positive things. Number 1, fats do lubricate your cells. So when you're thinking about the outer membrane of the cell, that is what is going to be absorbing other things such as water, sugar, proteins, things like that. The fat is going to lubricate that cell so that that tissue is healthy enough to be able to absorb other things. All right, that is a super positive aspect of fat. Creates cognitive energy, okay? Your energy sources are literally fats and carbohydrates. The energy source taken in from fats does have more of a mental energy to it. If you ever feel a little bit foggy, you might be a little bit low on fat intake. You can eat a meal with just a little bit of fat in it. All right. One of the downsides is that it burns so slowly. All right, it's a 1% thermogenic. nutrient, which means it creates hardly any heat at all. It's going to sit in your stomach. It actually takes about 3 hours to start digesting. All right. So just a small tidbit. This goes back to kind of the basics about why we talk about carbs and protein before and after the workouts. We tell everybody to limit their fat, because if you have a lot of fat in your meal after the workout, it's going to slow down the digestion and absorption of the carbs and protein that have been eaten with that. All right. And after a workout, we want those nutrients coming in fast. So let that kind of lock in. Fat digests very slowly, and you want to get stuff in and out quickly. So it's a slippery slope. There is no password.
Doing something wrong here.
Check your text message. I just sent it out. Here is a list of all of your, not all, but a good amount of your healthy fats. Can everybody see all that? Sorry, it's my first time doing this screen sharing stuff. I don't know if y'all can still see everybody. All right, if you need to take a picture of your screen or anything like that, go ahead. Again, I'll have this available. It's also on that food equivalence page that I sent out.
Okay.
Moving forward, carbohydrates. All right, the beautiful, wonderful carbohydrates, sometimes dangerous carbohydrates. You've got to be careful with these ones. All right, 1 gram of carb is 4 calories. All right, in comparison to your fat, it is less than half the size. All right, so carbohydrates, you can definitely have more grams of carbohydrates and not have as many calories. Compared to that, 10 grams of fat being 90 calories. If we wanted a balanced diet, we would want to get 90 calories of carbohydrates. That is going to take 22 grams of carbohydrates to be 88 calories. So 22 grams of carb and 10 grams of fat is going to be part of a balanced diet for a meal. All right, anybody got a question about that?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
So 22 grams of carbs. What were you trying to achieve? 90 calories? Is that what you just said? Okay, so that makes sense.
Cool.
Okay.
All right, a couple of positive aspects. Positive energy for muscles to contract. All right, the less carbs you eat, the less you're going to get out of your resistance training. The whole point of us and this whole program is resistance training. Does everything for us now to get the results and creates an investment for later. So you're not only going to be able to get the same results that you do now out of cardio, but down the road, instead of your results getting worse and hitting plateaus, you can actually get better and better results whenever you give your body more muscle. All right. It does also improve cognitive function. Your brain needs 130 grams of glycogen, which is around 40 carbohydrates per day to function. So if you are not eating carbohydrates, or if you're eating a small amount, but then you're coming off here and you're burning them all off through exercise, you're not giving your brain enough to operate with either. I know that you do need carbohydrates. All right, they stabilize blood sugar when eaten in small amounts, steady throughout the day, and when eaten with a protein source, they're going to give your body a little bit of blood sugar. Now, there's another nutrition class that goes more into depth with this that I'm going to be doing in 2 weeks. If anybody wants in that nutrition class, make sure you get with me after this. Text me and say, or you do it right now. Text me. Say, I want in that other nutrition class about stabilizing metabolic functions. All right, got a few more people joining in here. Welcome, welcome. Please stay on mute unless you have a question. Unmute yourself. Let me know you have a question.
Greg, are you going to do the other nutrition class the same way you're doing this one?
Yes, this will be my new format from now on because most people.
Okay. Okay. I just want to make sure before I text you.
Yes, ma'am. I can't do both. All right.
I figured out how to work this thing.
Also regulates insulin sensitivity. So insulin sensitivity is kind of a crazy topic. Basically, when you eat carbohydrates, protein helps break those carbohydrates down, and your brain receives a signal like, oh, hey, we've got sugar in our body. So then that tells your pancreas to go ahead and secrete insulin so that that insulin has something to work with. All right. The more regularly you eat a small amount of carbohydrates, the higher your insulin sensitivity is going to be, which means that your body becomes more efficient at processing carbs. If you're processing carbohydrates at a low insulin sensitivity rate, then you might only be using 60 or 70% of your carbs, which means that 30 or 40% is hanging out in your body, and it's got a good chance that it could turn into body fat within the next day or two. All right. If you are only eating once, twice, even with 3 times a day, you're not giving your body the practice to create a high insulin sensitivity. And this is what we're talking about this morning. So that insulin sensitivity, if you get a very high insulin sensitivity by eating 4, 5, 6 times per day, then you're probably going to be burning through 80, 90, or even up to 100% of all those carbs that you intake, which leaves minimal to go to waste, aka body fat, and you're going to get energy from all the carbs. You're going to feel a lot better. Lastly, on the positive side, when you have the right amount of carbohydrates, and sometimes, this is slippery slope for me to say, but ask me if you have questions about this. We need to discuss more. But if you intake too many carbs at one time, it can actually turbocharge your metabolism and start producing excess of the good hormones. This is why saying a cheat meal a week actually does good for your metabolism. All right, so steady carbs throughout the day, excellent for all that stuff. Good hormone production is going to let your body thrive rather than being suppressed. A couple negatives is that carbohydrates will store as body fat if you eat too many of them and then don't burn them off. All right, we talk about all the time, our trainers in here, we go, hey, high intensity if you had a cheat meal. All right, keep it resistance only if you did not. All right, because if you had too many of these carbs, we have to burn those off. And when you're in high intensity, your body burns through about 3 or 4 more times the carbs than it would without it. All right, here's a good list of carbohydrates. For ladies, this is 1 meal's worth. Fellas, you might want to go 1.5 to 2 times this amount, depending on your calorie intake. This is set up, honestly, for about a 1,500 calorie diet. Amount of carbs you would need for 1 meal. All right, anybody have any questions about carbohydrates? Unmute yourself and ask now or forever hold your peace. Good deal, y'all. All right, we're gonna move right along then. Ooh, more carbs. More carbs. All right, so fruits and vegetables, they are carbohydrates, but they don't work the same. All right, all those other carbohydrates we just talked about, those were starch carbs. All right, they are going to be insulin dependent and fiber dependent. All right, these are a little bit different here. Fruits are straight up glucose. They're the most natural sugar, so they're going to be the fastest acting. Great for before and after a workout. Probably not so great if you work out in the morning and you're getting ready to go to bed. Don't eat a banana because 1 banana has 25 to 30 carbs. It's going to absorb quickly, but then you're just going to sleep on it and it'll turn into fat still. I just told a story about my grandpa recently. He's in his 80s and he was gaining weight and didn't know why. His Weight Watchers says bananas are worth 0 points. He was eating 6 bananas a day, and that was over 150 grams of sugar per day. And once I told him that, he was like, oh, wow, no wonder. So gotta be careful with the fruits. Vegetables, however, much less dangerous. They are also, fruits and vegetables, both a great source of micronutrients, all your vitamins and minerals that support a good, healthy immune system. It's going to allow you to feel energized throughout the day. So you do want to get both of these. Vegetables, a lot of times, you look at this, 5 carbs. Ooh, let me go back. 5 carbs for a cup of broccoli. You can have a whole cup of broccoli. If you're hungry at the end of each meal, eat more vegetables. All right. You don't get too many vegetables. All right. Protein. Yes. Protein. Look at this picture up here. Protein is not just meats. All right. We do have meats in here, but we also have dairy products. There's legumes and seeds. There's eggs, nuts. These things also have protein in them, and usually a good amount. All right. Thing to be aware of right off the bat is that some of these also contain a high amount of fat, but we'll get into that here in just a minute. All right. The positives of protein. right off the bat is that it has branched chain amino acids. Those amino acids, that is the component that is going to link up with a carbohydrate to help it turn into glycogen, that then links up with insulin to create blood sugar. Without these amino acids, carbohydrates do not digest, they do not absorb, they will turn to fat. You need to eat protein or drink amino acids every time you eat. All right, no exceptions. I want to get over the culture of proteinless meals. If you're vegetarian or vegan, there's plenty of protein substitutes out there. I am getting ready to test out both a vegetarian and vegan lifestyle myself because I'm against animal cruelty. I hate it. It drives me nuts myself knowing that I'm part of it. So I'm going to be incorporating some protein alternatives and a branched amino acid supplement daily on those things. All right. Another benefit, another benefit of protein. This is what the supplement companies have marketed as the main benefit, but I think it's secondary to the amino acids. But it does repair damaged muscle tissue. All right, you break down your muscles. I'll stop sharing for a second for this one. All right, so your muscles. All right, we got a muscle here, act like that's a bicep. All right, see that big thing? It's your bicep right here. All right, you reach to pick up your phone or something, you get little bitty contractions. All right, movement, whatever. You're turning your steering wheel. But then you get in here, you pick up a 20-pound dumbbell, that contraction is much bigger, all right? The contractions that we feel in here, you know you're using that muscle at a higher intensity. So every time that muscle contracts on a small level, it doesn't create any tears in the muscle, but you rip it open in here, you see all those little holes in my fingers? Those are tears in that muscle tissue. Your protein, my thumbs, all right? Your protein then can come in, goes in your bloodstream, it goes into the muscle, and it fills in that hole right there. And then when your muscle heals, it's got these extra little proteins in there and they become extra muscle tissue. They help that muscle repair. And then now it's thicker, it's more dense. If you do it right, it has a nice little shape to it so you can tone up too, all right? That thicker muscle is going to make you burn calories faster and faster and faster, the thicker you get that thing, all right? Also, it's the faster you can heal that muscle, the less inflamed it is, the less your nervous system is producing hormones to cut the inflammation down. It's going to give you a better and faster chance to actually drop fat. All right. Let me go back to share mode here. Thank you. All right. Speeds up metabolism. We just talked about that hand in hand. The more muscle you have, the faster you're going to burn calories. Dang it. And another positive, protein cannot turn into fat. Okay. If it's a lean protein, there is no way for it to turn into fat. The only, I'd say, negative to it is that it can digest too quickly and definitely create gas if eaten alone. So again, let me stop sharing. For those of you all who say, I can't eat in the mornings before my workout, but you've drank a protein shake before the workout and felt nauseous, that's not a good example because you ate protein and protein alone. That is a recipe for gas, and your stomach fills up with gas, and you feel nasty. It feels bad. You get nauseous. Some people get sick, literally. So you put a carbohydrate along with that, then your stomach's going to feel a lot better. The carbohydrates are absorbent. They will absorb that gas, and you won't feel sick anymore. Promise you. All right. The other thing is you get too much protein in one day. Sometimes your digestion just gets a little fast. Things start moving out too quickly, if you get my drift. Yeah, I'm gonna leave it at that. All right. Any questions about protein before we move into the lean versus fatty? Cool. All right, guys, I'm gonna go back to sharing here. All right, so we got our 1 gram of protein is 4 calories, all right? So it is equal to a carbohydrate in size, still a little bit smaller than half of a gram of fat. Automatically with a gram of protein and a gram of carbohydrate being the exact same value, that should show you that in your diet, you should strive for a 1-to-1 ratio of protein and carbs. You should strive for that. If you eat 25 grams of carbohydrates, you should try to eat 25 grams of protein with it. All right. So our lean protein, all these things have, for 4 ounces of this protein source, you're going to get 22 to 26 grams of protein and less than 5 grams carbs, less than 5 grams of fat. For most of these, it is actually like 0 to 1. All right. The only exceptions really being that bison has a little bit of extra fat in it. Yeah, it's excellent. But most of these are very, very close to 0. They're all interchangeable. All right. Egg whites, 1 egg white is about 1 ounce. So that would be 4 egg whites in this equation. 1 scoop of my brand of protein is the same as 4.5 egg whites or 4.5 ounces of all these. All right. This 99.1 is very important. That's what makes this ground turkey lean protein. All right. You have 93.7. Sometimes I've seen like 98.2 would still be lean, but 93.7 is not so lean. And definitely 85.15 would be a fatty protein. All right. These things, same amount of protein for 4 ounces, but now you're going to get more fat in the picture. All right. These are best eaten in inactive times because, like we talked about, that fat would slow down the digestion and the absorption of the nutrients of the protein. And when you're working out, that's the last thing you want. You need that energy and you need that replenishment. This would be great, like for all my morning people who are working out in the mornings with us. That'd be like salmon for dinner.
Good idea,
All right.
dude.
This would be like, let me get all these up here. All right, steak for dinner. All right, cottage cheese as an evening snack. There's our ground turkey that's a little higher in fat. Now, if you're working out at night, you want to keep your fatty proteins to the morning. So that'd be like, I don't have a whole egg on here, but 1 whole egg with the yolk will give you your 5 grams of protein, but also 5 grams of fat. All right. I don't know if anybody's going to eat a pork chop for breakfast, but have at it. All right. So lean proteins can be eaten at any time, but definitely during active times. Fatty proteins, keep it to the inactive. Any questions about that?
Yes, Greg. So I often, I often work out twice a day. I should eat lean both times if I'm doing that. And then if I just work out in the morning, should I have a fatty protein in the evening? Is that a good idea, or just do it every so often?
You definitely can have a fatty protein in the evening if you work out in the morning,
Okay.
or you can have a lean protein and add a fat source to it.
Okay. Okay. Cool.
If you do the fatty protein, you don't get the fat source because then you'd already be getting your 10 to 15 grams of fat from the protein source because it's a fatty protein. You don't want to add another 10 grams of fat on it.
Like olive oil, whatever.
Your body needs 10 to 15 grams, actually 8 to 15 grams of fat per meal.
Okay.
Yeah, so definitely don't want to cook salmon in oil.
It's okay. All right,
Yeah,
cool.
you have to find another way to get that done, unless
I can
it's
bake
a
it.
cheat meal. Right, baking.
Bake it.
I do the Pam spray
Smoke
or
it
right, put it on a grill and some foil,
Yeah.
lemon juice.
Okay.
Good question. All right, anybody else? Questions? Damn, I must be killing it. Appreciate you guys. All right. Right here. We've now at this point, we've discussed each of the macronutrients. We know that fat's worth a lot more than the carbohydrates and protein. We've seen that they all do have benefits in our body and that they work together in a cycle here to let your body actually absorb the nutrition that you're eating so that it can turn into energy so that you can use that energy to build your muscles, to boost your metabolism, all the things that we really want to do to drop body fat, increase muscle so that we can tone, so we can be healthy, fit, we can look sexy, right? That's what we want to do. So now that we know about all these macronutrients, the big question is, how many? All right, Amanda, we just had our meeting earlier today, and you were saying portion control. This is where we're going to start getting into figuring out exactly what or how many of each of these we need. Okay, we're going to talk about daily values. And I want y'all to know, everybody in the challenge right now, the meal plan that I gave you all, that meal plan took me a long time to make. All right, and it is broken down. I already have the macros balanced out perfectly, the calories perfect for what your current state is and what your goal is. All right, so I took all that into account. I also took into account food options. Obviously, I would try to put things together that taste good, but also work well as far as micronutrients, fiber, all the other factors that are also important, but just below macronutrients. So the meal plan and then using that food equivalence page to plug and play. If you do that consistently, you're going to get all these components and be eating the right amounts. All right. So I just wanted to throw that out there before we really get in this conversation. Anybody got a question about that?
How come you're so off?
Get it from my mama.
That's cool, man.
Oh, who's that waving back there? Yeah, how you doing? All right, going back to share mode here. All right, so how many calories and macronutrients do I need each day? All right, so first, you got to know that your body is going to change and adapt. All right, your calorie range is definitely built around a lot of factors, and if those factors in your life change, your calorie range must change as well. I use myself as the example here. Everybody knows that I rolled my ankle pretty severely. Was at the end of November. So December and January, my activity level was way, way down. All right, I did have to cut my calories back just a little bit because I wasn't expending as much. However, I also had a goal that because I wasn't able to run and play basketball, I was gonna focus on building muscle. So at the same time, I didn't pull back calories that much because I also wanted to make sure I was getting enough to build that muscle. All right, so those are two different factors. My activity level did go down, but I still wanted, my goal was to build muscle. I took both those into account and could have cut back my calories by about 500 or 600 a day, but I only cut them back 250. All right, if you have any questions like that, that's where I come in. These decisions are hard to make, but I got a decade of experience and gaining knowledge to help y'all out with that. All right, another thing, as your body adapts, we are built with a, I guess it's a concept in our body. It's a mechanism called homeostasis. All right, if you're eating 2,000 calories a day, every day, and at first that may be helping you lose weight because you were eating 2,400, eventually your body starts burning less and less, all right, until it's regulated itself to burn that 2,000 calories that you're eating. Usually this does take 2 or 3 months to happen, but that's whenever people get frustrated because they stop seeing results and people end up quitting. So I want to encourage everybody, look at my face out here, do not quit because your body stops responding. Talk to me and let's figure out, we probably just gotta make a couple little changes, little tweaks.
Amen. I can testify to
And
that.
then we got to keep it rolling, all right? Mark's in a room with me.
Amen.
He lost 100 pounds, gained a little bit of it back because it stopped happening. He got a little frustrated. He slacked up on his stuff for a minute. But then we had another conversation. I found out the couple small things he needed to change. And it's back with like 20 pounds and
26 pounds.
he's back down 26 more pounds. So now he's over his 100
Dude,
pounds.
but check it out. 3 inches on my belt in
Right.
3 weeks.
In 3 weeks, y'all.
3
3 inches off his belt. A lot of times it is just finding that one little thing that's creating a disconnect. You might be working out the right amount of times, doing the right workout. You might be eating a good amount of food, all that stuff, but then you're drinking 1 bottle too little water a day.
Not enough water.
And why are you doing all those good things to let it all be for nothing whenever it's all you had to do was drink 1 more bottle of water? All right. It's different for everybody. It's going to be different for everybody in different times, but know that this is a process. You're going to have to change things along the way. And you're going to have to recognize when that happens, be patient, talk to me. All right. Working out too much or not eating. Yes, Emily, thank you. Those are huge and very, very common issues, is overtraining or over dieting, aka under eating. Right? Those are issues that usually are the main factors. I'm pretty sure everybody in here right now is like, yep, you did tell me that was one of my problems. It's one of my problems too. I'm an under eater. I'm so active. Like right now, and Amanda, just let you know that shake I was telling you about, I got carbs and protein in here right now because I'm busy up here and I couldn't eat my food, so I have to drink it.
What you got in there, dude? I'm going to interrupt you again.
I'll show you.
Okay, cool.
Yes, you can add things to water. Crystal Light is my choice. Mio is a good one. If it's low or no calories, I'm for it. All right. All right, I'm gonna go back to the screen share. We're gonna keep the ball rolling here. All right, so calculating your total daily calories. Multiply your goal weight by anywhere from 8 to 20. Well, how do you know, Greg?
What do you mean 8
I'm gonna
to
tell you.
20? Really, that's a huge
Here you go.
difference.
If you want rapid weight loss, you multiply your goal weight by 8. All right. Should be done for only 2 to 6 weeks at a time because it will cause a lack of energy and a hormone fluctuation that's going to slow your metabolism down. All right. If you want to hit a couple weeks of a quick burst because you got a vacation coming up, no biggie. But do not stay on that because your plateau is coming quick, and then adverse effects that'll cause you to gain weight are coming shortly after. All right. Multiply your goal weight by 10 is what I would recommend if you're on a weight loss journey. That's long-lasting results with minimal negative effects, steady weight loss. Won't happen quite as quickly, but it'll be sustainable and it'll keep happening for a long time. You'll feel good in the meantime as well. Maintenance is multiplying your goal weight by 12. If you don't really want much to change and you're really exercising for the health benefits of this, or maybe you just want to like shift your body composition, you want to drop 5 pounds of fat, build 5 pounds of muscle. I've talked about building muscle and dropping fat at the same time, or it's a very difficult task. You got to make sure everything is in that full circle and you're not missing a step. The right amount of calories is part of that. You need to make sure that 12 is right there. If you want to gain some weight, all right, it may sound crazy, but this was me. I was 125 to 130 pounds soaking wet when I graduated high school, y'all. All right. The insecurity and mental battles that came along with that, I would say are very similar to what I've heard from all my clients that struggle with obesity. All right. Little things from just being ashamed of yourself and feeling like it's all your fault and like, why am I like this? Not want to take your shirt off, just not feeling good about yourself, to also health effects, like negative things with my health. The doctors, I was way too skinny. So there are a few of you, I want to let you know it's okay if you want to gain weight. I think our society has made it not okay to be obese, but also not okay with wanting to not be skinny either. I don't think skinny is a great thing all the time. All right, healthy. Yes. I want you to feel good about yourself, but also be healthy. As long as those two things happen, we're good. All right, go back to share mode here. Just had to put that in there. If you multiply it by 15, you're going to get some slow gains. That's where I was at while my ankle's twisted. Now that I'm getting back to running though, y'all, I'm trying to keep my weight up. I'm multiplying my goal weight by 20. I'm eating these calories. Anybody have any questions about calculating your daily calories, or do you all want to share how many calories you came up with?
Can I ask you a serious
Mark, you're first. Let's go.
Okay, so I want to keep steady progress going.
Yes, sir.
And I don't want to plateau.
Yep.
And I have a very high demanding job physically. I work out really hard. I'm loving the way I'm feeling. This is working, but I really haven't calculated my calories. I just kind of took your meal plan and I modified it, my own thoughts and whatever. But I know that I can do better if I hone it in a little more precisely. So where do you think 2,500 would be a good realistic steady calorie count for me?
Let me put it in equation form for you. Because of your high demand job, I would like to point out it's a great question here, because I didn't consider that I said this system is designed for people with active lifestyles participating in HIIT and resistance training workouts 3 to 5 days per week. However, I did not talk about this is also for, in general, most people have inactive jobs. So the fact that you have a very demanding and active job, 12, the maintenance mode might be your steady weight loss. That's something you're gonna have to play with. I don't have the right answer. There is no right answer. It's gonna change over time.
Like for me, when I try to stick to your meal plan, I cheated because it was not
Starving.
enough food.
Right. You definitely don't want to be starving. If you're hungry, eat, but make it healthy and spread those extra calories throughout the day as evenly as possible.
That's what I've been trying to do.
And I would go, it's all about tracking, analyzing, and making changes. So track your data, say, okay, I'm gonna eat whatever, if it's 2,200 calories, track it, see what your results are like. But then if you're still starving, be like, okay, well, let me try 2,300 and just keep playing with it week by week.
So good snacking before I went to bed, something that would slowly digest and keep me satiated until I woke up in the morning.
We're going to talk about that later.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm on a different part of the conversation right now. Anybody else want to share? No? Don't make me and Mark do all the work over here, y'all. All right. Most of y'all are probably finding yourselves around that 10 or 12 range. Maybe you're considering going in that 8 mode for a short period of time just to get some quick results. You heard everything I had to say. If y'all want to bounce your numbers back past me, text me. I will confirm if it's a good range for you or not. All right. Moving on, I do have another slide or two here. I wanted you all to see a couple things. Number one, this is a Skinny Pop nutrition label. All right. When you're reading this label, you have to look at a few things. Serving size 3 3/4 cups. That's going to give you 150 calories, 10 grams of fat, 15 carbs, 2 grams of protein. Okay. So right off the bat, this Skinny Pop, it's got an amount of carbs that we would need before a workout, but because it has 10 grams of fat, I would not want to eat this before a workout, really. Also, does not have much protein. I'm going to do, let's see, I'll do some slices of turkey meat with it, 3 slices to get 10 grams of protein, so that I have a balance of these nutrients. All right, I just wanted to show you a nutrition label and how you have to actually think about this, look at the numbers, and make an objective decision. Okay, this has, it looks like it's an even amount of fats and carbs. That's promoting balanced diet, but it's lacking protein. I need more. And then you have to find that more and actually eat it. That is your job. And just for a second here, do wish that I could eat all y'all's calories for you, but I can't. You have to eat your food. All right. All right, Kim, good point. She said, oh my gosh, I've been eating 1,200 calories, and her rapid fat loss, when she multiplied by 8, would be 1,360. Yes, Kim, you have been under eating a little bit. It happens. Don't worry about it though, because jump to 1,360 and your body's going to start responding very positively. By adding calories, you're going to get increased hormone production on the right hormones. As long as it's healthy food spread naturally and even throughout the day, your metabolism should start speeding up. I'm talking in a matter of like 3 days. You'll notice some positive benefits from that with increased energy and fat reduction. All right. I'm glad you chimed in there though. That was nice. All right. Also, I want y'all to see what 1,500 calories looks like. All right. The Mediterranean diet, a lot of us eat these types of foods regularly. So this was 5 meals on a Mediterranean diet. And you can see these are not small meals. You do not have to starve yourself. Just eat clean and natural foods, unprocessed, and you get a good amount of food. Right? If you don't like cooking, look, all these things right here, there's no cooking involved. These are like raw fruits and vegetables and a couple of dairy products in there. 1,500 calories, that's what it looks like. Base your calorie absorption or your calorie consumption, I mean, around this too. If you're supposed to be eating like, Kim, you just said 1,360, that's not too far off. You should be eating about this much food each day. All right, some of y'all are gonna be like 2,000 calories a day. You should get a little bit more than this. But to be aware. All right, one more here. How to calculate your macros. All right, because this is not just a calorie in versus calorie out. Calories come from fats, carbs, and proteins. So if you were exercising and you were burning all carbohydrates, all right, you're in the high intensity zone, 95% of your calories are coming from carbohydrates. You're not going to lose any body fat because you're not burning much fat. You're burning 95% of your calories from carbs, 2% from fat. 2% fat burn is not going to let you run out of food from fat. All right, so it is important, like eating 1,500 calories a day is one thing. Eating 5 meals a day that are 300 calories a piece is one thing. But making sure that of those 1,500 calories, you had 500 calories from a carb, 500 calories from protein, and 500 calories from fat. That is the balance of this. That is the extra thought. And I know already some of y'all got that look on your face like, oh my gosh, that's overwhelming. This is your homework. I don't expect you to just click right now, all right? I've been doing this for 10 years now. So of course I can let it roll off my tongue. If you give yourself 1 solid year of committing yourself, 1 year, track your food on MyFitnessPal. If you don't know what something is, watch this. Hey Siri, what's the macronutrient breakdown for salmon?
Okay, I found this on the web for what's the macronutrient breakdown for salmon.
The first
Check it
website,
out.
look, it's literally telling me right there. It's so easy, guys. We have no excuses anymore. So Yes, it's going to be overwhelming at first, but practice, practice, practice. All right. I mention this literally every day of my life. A mentor of mine, we had a conversation. We realized that the way you succeed in things is getting better. You become good at things. How you get good at things is you learn everything you can about it and you practice what you've learned. All right. The Fit app, MyFitnessPal, is a food diary app. Small, and Amanda, I'll answer your question too here in a second. Don't listen to MyFitnessPal's recommendations because whoever programmed that app, I just don't think they know everything they need to have the rights to do that. So ask me what you like, what your numbers should be still, but that can help you keep track of your numbers to make sure you're getting the right amounts. And Amanda, you said it just came out to 1160. It's okay. I would go ahead and round it up to 1200. Nobody should be eating less than 1200 calories a day. That is kind of a baseline minimal calorie intake, 1200 calories per day for the proper hormone production. You're welcome, Tara. All right, back to this last slide. Calculating your macros for weight loss. All right. Your body's going to be always trying to change. So there's no real perfect answer. You track your habits, you evaluate, you make decisions on what you need to change based off of what the data reflects. This is up to you all to do. Again, I'm the resource. You can come ask me if you're not sure about the decisions to make. All right. You can track, and everybody in here is damn well smart enough to evaluate. We can tell, hey, I lost a pound. I'm happy about that or I'm not. It was enough to make me happy or not. All right. If you need help with those changes, I'm here. The federal dietary recommendations are for 45 to 60% of your carbohydrate intake, of your 45 to 60% of your calories to come from carbohydrate intake, 20 to 35% of your calories to come from fat intake, and the remainder for protein. All right, and that's the federal recommendation, and that is for good health.
What was the recommendation on fat, the percentage again?
Fat is 20 to 35%, carbs 45 to 60, and protein the rest. So let's say that you had that 1500 calorie diet, and we're going to go over a few more things here, but you're saying, all right, 50% is within that 45, 60. So 750 of my calories should come from carbs, which at 4 grams per calorie, or 4 calories per gram, sorry, that is going to put you eating somewhere just under 200 grams of carbohydrates per day. That's how you calculate that. Now, the federal recommendations is strictly for health. There is a bit more to it. All right, we are all trying to be healthy, but most of us are also trying to create an aesthetic change. We want our body to be different. If you want fat loss, if you want weight management, all right, results, you have to take health and you have to organize it. All right, that organization, organized health is what creates results. All right, I got a lot of people that get frustrated because they're like, oh my God, I eat organic everything. And it's like, okay, you ate organic bananas like my grandpa, 6 bananas a day. He eats organic everything. Bananas and peanuts was his diet, and he was gaining weight like crazy. So again, he had the health, but he didn't have the organization. Let's get back in.
Keep eating organic, that saves a big.
Yeah, I do keep it organic, yeah.
Saves a big.
All right, so as far as your carbohydrates go, it is based off a few factors, like the more muscle mass you have, you're going to need more carbohydrates. If you're not very active, you'll probably want to go maybe as low as 35% of your calories come from carbohydrates though. What Mark was saying earlier, he has a very demanding job. So he may want to go upwards of 50 or 60% of his diet coming from carbohydrates. However, if you're someone who does a half an hour, 3 days per week of boot camp, but then you have a desk job and you're not highly active outside of that, you're probably like 35 to maybe 40% of your calories each day coming from carbohydrates. Fats. All right, fats make up the other energy you intake. You got to kind of balance this out with your carbohydrate. So again, using Mark as an example here, he said he's thinking 50%, all right, carbs. He cannot go 35% fat. If he does that, that's 85% of his diet. He cannot have 15% of his protein intake coming into play because he's only going to get a few grams of protein. He needs more than that. So because he's going to do 50% here, I would recommend Mark does more like 20 or 25% of fat intake, and that's going to give him 25 to 30% protein intake. That's still going to allow him to get close to a third of his calories from protein so that he can keep, what's the key word, y'all? Anyone want to point out what that would be?
Keep making progress.
Yep, a balanced diet. Somebody said it, right? Oh, that was me. It's cool. A balanced diet, guys. We're looking for the balanced diet here. All right, last one, the proteins. Your protein intake should take your current muscle mass, your desired muscle mass, and your carbohydrate intake into account. That's kind of what I was just going for here. Remember with that 1-to-1 ratio, if you're taking in 50% of your diet from carbs, having 15% from protein makes no sense. There's a huge disconnect there. And honestly, even in Mark's situation, I would still maybe even recommend like 45% carbohydrate, 20% fat, that's 65. Then you can get 35% from protein. That 45 to 35, that's a very close to a 1-to-1 ratio. All right. If you have a huge amount of muscle, all right, like me, JK, then yeah, you got to have more protein to keep that muscle. If you don't eat enough protein, you end up losing your muscle. All right. Or if you want more muscle, you have to eat more protein so that it can turn into muscle. All right. So, a lot of information there. All right. Again, we've been recording this whole session for the past 50 minutes. I'm going to get this on YouTube in the next day or two. And if you want the link to it, definitely get back with me. We've talked about what each macronutrient is, like the basis of it, the positives and negatives in your body. We gave some good sources of each macronutrient so you can know what to eat to build your meals. We talked about how to calculate your daily calories, and then within those calories, how many fats, carbs, and proteins are going to make up those calories. The last thing to put in here would be to correlate back to what we also discussed. You want primarily carbohydrates and proteins before and after your workout. All right. All the other meals should be balanced. Lower carb side. Balanced with a lower carb attitude. All right. Does anybody have any questions? 4, 3, 2. All right, you guys. Y'all got my number. I see y'all on the regular. Definitely thank you for being in this webinar. This is cool because it's my first one that I've done start to finish online and online only. I'm going to be doing like this from now on because look, we got what, 12 people in here, 13 people in here. My typical nutrition classes have like 1 to 3. So this is definitely better attendance. I'm going to keep this going. 2 weeks from now, every other Thursday at 5 o'clock, you can still register on the app if you want to hold a spot and like hold yourself accountable, but there are going to be links for this like we had today. I'll continue to send those out, or you can text me and ask me to send you the invite ahead of time with your email address.
Okay.
Hey, you're welcome, Stephanie. Yeah,
Thank
definitely
you.
beneficial to have this mobile, right? And you're welcome, Tunisha.
Okay.
All right, have a good day. Have a good night, you all.
All right, you
See y'all
too.
soon at the best boot camp in the world. Woo!
All right, bye.
Bye.